So just a few words to introduce this panel. Let me thank, first of all, Florian Freitag. He's a colleague. He will be chairing this panel. Florian, thank you again for this availability to us. Then we have Manuela Costone of CIMEA. We will learn about CIMEA soon. CIMEA is an associate partner of Aurora. Thank you, Manuela, to you and to CIMEA for being here. Then Bernard, we know him, Bernard. He's so committed in Aurora. Thank you, Bernard, for being with us. And then Antonella Forlino, it's a pleasure to have you, Antonella, in Napoli. Antonella is a colleague of the University of Pavia, but Florian will present her better than I'm doing, with a lot of experience in alliances, university alliances. Giovanni Betta. Giovanni is a member of the Italian National Council. We will learn a bit about that. Thank you, Giovanni, to be here as a friend and a colleague. So, Florian, to you the floor. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I was going to say good morning and welcome everyone, but this is Napoli, so let me say buongiorno a tutto quanto. Benvenuto a Napoli. E ciao. That's the spirit. As Alessandro said, there are a lot of tasks ahead of us, and one of them is creating more and even better joint educational offerings for our students. Why are we doing this? Well, tackling today's major global challenges requires an unprecedented scientific, cultural, and technological commitment. And European universities and European university alliances can and they want to play a decisive role in helping to identify both challenges but also solutions. To do so, we need for innovation in both teaching and research in a rapidly changing context in which internationalization as an inclusive process is increasingly relevant. So in this panel, our host has gathered experts who will talk about their experiences in the field of defining innovative and international educational pathways, focusing on the role of European alliances and European joint degrees and programs. I will introduce them again in more detail in just a second. The way it works is we'll have 2 rounds of contributions. Two contributions from each panelist, and I will introduce each panelist before their first contribution. Before we do that, let me just say that Aurora is part of a very, very broad effort to delineate a joint European education system. Internationalization of curricula and didactic innovation are key elements of this. But there are also aspects that pose enormous, it says problems here in my manuscript, but they're not problems, they're challenges. Challenges that we're ready to meet. From the recognition of qualifications and training courses to the accreditation and approval of courses by national authorities, from designing new and innovative courses to harmonize different cultures. Everyone who has been involved in Aurora is familiar with one or even several of these challenges. So let's talk about how we can meet those challenges. Our first panelist that I would like to introduce is Antonella Forlino, who joins us from the University of Pavia, where she is a professor of biochemistry, a pro-rector for internationalization, and the president of GLOBEC. GLOBEC is the Center for Global Strategic Engagement at the University of Pavia, and there it promotes and supports the realization of the university's internationalization strategy, strengthening its international profile and spreading a global dimension in its activities and services. GLOBEC ensures the development of relations and agreements with foreign universities, the management of strategic partnerships and networks, the development of international inter-university cooperation projects, and the creation of innovative international mobility programs. Antonella is also the rector's delegate to EC2U, the European campus of City University. And ECTU, in turn, stay with me, is a member of ED Affice. Now, ED Affice is a consortium of 6 university alliances. So you have the universities, the alliances, and then you have the consortium of alliances. And some of the alliances that are in there are, of course, EC2U, Una Europa, 4EU+, Charm EU, love that name, EU Connexus, and Unite. Now, ED Affice represents 51 higher education institutions from 22 different countries. In consultation with experts, the consortium will develop possible improvements to the criteria associated with the European degree label as outlined by the European Commission, and co-develop recommendations on a possible assessment procedure, as well as design and delivery of a future European degree label. Now, Antonella coordinates the activities of the University of Pavia within the ED Affice project, and that would also be my first question to you, or the topic of your first contribution. So in 2022, the European Commission launched a call for European university alliances to examine and facilitate the delivery of a joint European degree label. And the ED Affice project answered the call, and they secured support from the European Commission to pilot the European degree. What can you tell us about your work?
Okay, I hope. Oh, I can turn my eyes on. Okay. So, good morning, everybody, and thanks, Alessandro, for inviting me to this biannual meeting. From what has been said about me, it looks like I'm quite an expert on alliance and joint degree programs. Well, I'm really not. I'm a biochemist professor, and it's just happened that after my nomination as a prorector for the University of Pavia, I get really excited about the European Alliance project. And in 2020, we applied and we succeeded in activating the EC2U Alliance. And all start from that. So everything I built up on my expertise started in 2019. But it was quite a busy period. This last year were really intense. And my excitement is still on alliances, as well as on working on a joint program. So let me step back a minute. As a representative for the University of Pavia of the EC2U Alliance, one of the pillars that we had in our alliance was to generate originally in the pilot phase, now we are also in the consolidation phase as you guys are, was to activate 3 joint masters on different SDGs, good health and well-being, quality of education, and sustainable city and development. So it seems really exciting and challenging, and everything looked possible at that time. Then we face reality. And we realized that without a group we call a task force that was not foreseen early on, nothing was going to happen. And it just happened that since it was really exciting, then I was the one that was selected to, lucky me, to coordinate this task force. And with a lot of difficulties, we indeed activated the 3 masters. And because of my expertise on this in the Alliance, I was the lucky one selected from EC2U to participate as full partner in the ED Affice project. It makes sense, and I was excited as well. I did not realize it was a 1-year project with really challenging objectives. So my last year, the project just ended, was basically spent, I would say, 80% of my time on working for this new project that, as it was mentioned, involved 6 different alliances, so we are at the step up of our pyramids. And it was a wonderful experience. We had a common goal when we sit down, these 6 partners. We clearly see the power of having a European degree label. It was a possibility, we foresee the possibility to establish finally clear and shared criteria, and we based our work on this point. We realized that it was possible to create finally a single shared document that was going to facilitate student and job market in recognizing the formation, higher education. We foresee the possibility to finally overcome the legal barriers that destroyed my life in the last 3 years. And we were really excited about to create and implement our possibility to be competitive in worldwide with our educational program. And we also look at overcome the Erasmus Mundus project that is a great one, but is limited to master. So we saw the possibility to move to include bachelor and to include the doctorate. So what we did in Head of Fish, what was our way to work? And it was really demanding, but really satisfactory. We based our work on questionnaire. We released questionnaire to the coordinator of already existing joint program. We released questionnaire to ministry, to quality education agency, to employment representative, and to students. And after we analyze all this questionnaire, and then we activate focus group with the program director, workshop, national workshop with quality agency and with ministry. And this allow us to have a clear picture of what? On what is real in the world, in Europe now, and what are the obstacles that do not really allow yet to activate European degree in terms of joint program. And we release a specific consolidated report and outcomes of our work that you can find, they are public. And we analyze the proposed criteria that was present in the pilot phase in a critical way, and we were able to provide input to the release blueprint that the European Commission released the past month. And we were really proud because they actually accept several of our suggestions. But our recommendations were really, really detailed and based on reality, so really concrete. Overall, we were able to describe some recommendation for ministry, for quality agency education, and for higher education system. I'm not going to describe all in detail, I just pick some that I really believe are super important. First of all, the coordination that the EU Commission has to take in order to allow ministry, quality agency, and higher education to go on the same direction. Because we can nationally change rules, but if we don't do that on the same line, then we make change and we will never be able to talk to each other or make easy the creation of European degree. Then it's really important the branding. We need to advertise this, the relevance of European degree among students, among the job market. People need to know what is the advantage to have a European degree. Otherwise, will be some description in the paper that only specialized people realize the relevance of, and this is not good. And then we have to, we recommend to use the tools that are already there. The European approach tool, the Bologna process, we don't have to be too creative on that. Just use what is available and apply what is available to reality. Finally, we really like that the higher education institutions are left free to try. But in order to do that, we need a bit flexible legislation, because only with creating sandbox we can really see what is possible, what is not, and then modulate based on reality, on how the student, the job market is reacting. Last but not least, I have to mention that we recommend the European Commission and the Ministry to support with funding, because funding is relevant. And I'm not talking only about money. Money is fundamental for student mobility, for staff mobility, but also fundings in terms of recognition to the activity. We are academics, and up to now, there is no specific recognition for all the work that my colleagues and you guys are putting in this project of creating joint program. This needs to be fixed. It is a must. Otherwise, we will not be able to convince anybody to really put so much effort. And this is really a true job on this kind of project. And I think I can stop that.
Yeah, the call for more money was a cue.
Yes, I need to finish with that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing some of your ideas and strategies here with us. I hope somebody took notes. Let me turn to my left now and turn to our second panelist, Giovanni Betta, who joins us from the University of Cassino and Lazio Meridionale, where he is a professor of electronics and prorector of education. The University of Cassino and Lazio Meridionale is a member of a university alliance, namely EUT+, the European University of Technology. And we'll talk about that in your second contribution. Giovanni is chairman of the evaluation board of the Southern Higher Schools. He's a member of the evaluation board of the University of Catania and the University of Sogno, and most importantly, for his first contribution, he is a member of the Consiglio Universitario Nazionale, the Italian National University Council. Now, the Italian National University Council serves as an independent source of advice and recommendations to the Ministry of Education, University and Research on matters considered relevant to the university system, such as national programs, policies, and administrative practices affecting higher education, classification and definition of academic fields and disciplines for the purposes of recruitment, teaching and research, funding issues, and the approval of university teaching regulations. And so my first question to you would be to tell us about the vision of the National University Council on the internationalization and the innovation of curricula. Thank you.
Thank you, Florian, for your kind introduction, and thank you for the invitation. Let me first of all share with you my happiness. As you have said, I am a professor of University of Cassino, but I live in Naples, and so to see in Naples so many people coming from all Europe is for me a really good emotion. Antonella previously said that one of the problems of approving joint degree is certainly on regulation rules. And in Italy, the accreditation process traditionally is really very fixed. And it involves CUN, the council in which I'm a member, together with also Alessandro, and also ANVUR. We have two associations that are involved in accreditation process. And so, historically, Italy is not the best nation in which you can develop new programs, flexible programs. But I can give to all of you some good news that are happening in these last years. There were some new decrees from the ministry that introduce more flexibility in our in the accreditation process in Italy. So I can say, taking the sentence that I've read before, now you can only try, because if you do not try, you will not success. But really now, in Italy, the accreditation process of more flexible and international programs are really, I cannot say, of course I cannot say easy to develop, because nothing is easy. But certainly, if you follow quality criteria and you have a clear idea on learning outcomes and what you want to give to our students, now programs are can be produced. So, what is, in my opinion, the problems that are still really present in developing joint programs? I think that, of course, every one of you knows what happens with at first Erasmus, then Erasmus Mundus. Then the European Alliance Challenge is certainly a step beyond, because in Erasmus Mundus we have only to design a specific program with a specific task involving usually 3 nations, and so it's a very hard job, but it's easy to be designed. Now the challenge is to design programs that can be used theoretically by all 13 nations that are involved in an alliance. 9 plus you are bigger than EUT plus is a small alliance. The whole campus of the whole virtual campus of EUT plus, including all the university involved, is smaller than University of Napoli Federico II. So probably for us it's easier to design something common. But is certainly the challenge of the future, because our students need to choose their programs without having all the boundaries that we had when we are many years ago, when we are young, but also where you are young. You are younger, certainly younger than me. Now they want to move. They want to move one semester different from the other. They want to decide where to go, not before entering in the university, but during the. So, for example, I do not follow precisely your question. I introduced something about my EUT Plus experience. In EUT Plus, we are working about clusters. What does we mean it's cluster? Cluster of mechanical engineering. All universities, we are a technological European alliance, so we are focused on less curriculum than the one you are looking in your alliance. But everybody plays in this cluster all the courses that described in learning outcomes and all description that can be useful for students for choosing, in such a way that students can go, for example, enter in University of Cassino, and then after the semester, he can give a look to the cluster offered by all the other universities, and with a mobility map that are approved by the OT Alliance, and they can decide where to go. Of course, this is the vision. The construction, the building of this cluster is not an easy task. It takes, we arrived now in OT Plus. They are working on this cluster since the starting of OT Plus Alliance, and we are entered just now. But at the end, students will have for all the curriculum that he can choose, microelectronics, mechanical, computer science, and so on, he can choose how to move in Europe. Of course, what is the effect of this approach for a CUN, for a National Council for Approving? Of course, we have also to try to modify our approach to accreditation of curriculum, accreditation of not only CUN. In Italy we have this other structure, this is ANVUR. ANVUR verify also the structure of your university. But what about structure verification if students move from one university to another one? In my curriculum, I do not offer only my laboratories. I offer all the laboratories that are available in Europe. So is a not easy modification of approach, of point of view. But I think I can tell you in CUN and in ANVUR in Italy. But I suppose that the same increasing of flexibility is also you can see also in other countries. There are some countries that are still more flexible than we are. There are some in our alliance. We have some university from Eastern Europe. We have Bulgaria, Romania, and they are more rigid than we are. Why I found that all that I can see in the nation that are in Aurora are more intrinsically devoted to flexibility. And so I think that the first contribution to the discussion can be stopped now.
We're still going to talk about, I think you were delineating the details of the European degree label in engineering, JEDI, so we're going to talk about that in just a second. Yeah. In the meantime, let us turn to another national institution, a national organization, namely CIMEA, and to Manuela Costone, who joins us from CIMEA. She's a lawyer and a member of the bar in Rome and has substantial experience in EU law. And at CIMEA, she's a senior project manager. Let me tell you about CIMEA first. Il Centro di Informazione sulla Mobilità e le Equivalenze Accademiche. This is an Italian course here. The Information Center on Academic Mobility and Equivalence, which, by the way, was founded in 1984, and so this is your 40th anniversary. So happy anniversary to CIMEA. The principal objective of CIMEA is to further academic mobility in all aspects, facilitating the understanding of the elements of the Italian system and the foreign education and training system. So basically, what CIMEA does, it owns an international document center and specialized databases on foreign higher education systems on the types of qualifications of every country and on the national legislation in terms of higher education. And just to give you an idea of their work, it supplies an average via email or other inquiries and free of charge. It supplies an average of replies to around 20,000 inquiries, 20,000 per year. I would love to ask you how many of them come from Aurora or from Aurora members.
We'll check.
maybe you can answer. First of all, I would like to ask you about how CIMEA contributes to the development of joint degrees and joint programs.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be today here and as representative of CIMEA for speaking about the long journey we did in the framework of the joint programs and joint degrees. Forgive me if I am a lawyer. Of course, when I started my research, I wanted to present the legal basis and the legal framework on which we started implementing, but then the romantic journey started. As the first time I heard about joint programs, I was working at the Conference of Italian University Rectors, and I remember some pioneers universities. Pavia was there, and Padua, and Bologna, the main universities, and when I say the main, they were the ones that could be able to invest a lot of money in the international relation offices, and they wanted to push the instruments, the legal instruments, in order to facilitate the development of joint programs. And the level of jointness was really poor at that time, and the tools they could count on were not so easy to be pushed. But also, if you see the name of CIMEA, CIMEA, as you said, is the Information Center on Academic Mobility and Equivalence. We started to facilitate mobility. As Erasmus Mundus, it started as a mobility program. So it's really impressive to be here and to speak about jointness in a completely different sense. As of course now we can speak as a community in the higher education sector. And we as CIMEA started in 1984 with this name. There were 6 countries in Brussels. It was June 1984. The countries were Italy, and we represented Italy in that case, and Germany, France, Luxembourg, and Belgium, of course, and Netherlands. And they decided to cooperate in order to facilitate recognition of qualifications in their national countries. So as you know, every national system can only cooperate with others, but now we can speak as a unique system of cooperation. And I think it's really great, as of course the Lisbon Recognition Convention in 1987, the Lisbon process in 1999, started to facilitate the use of some tools. And they were the National Qualification Framework, the ECTS, the Quality Assurance Elements, all things that we all share now. And of course, we can grow up together in a system that is shared. And it's really something that grew up in the years. And when I started working at CIMEA, we managed the national contact point for Erasmus Mundus. And it was a great opportunity to work with Italian universities in order to facilitate their participation in the process. And in the program, of course. And today there was another anniversary as Erasmus Mundus is 20. And I received a lot of calls from some colleagues, from some students. And it was another romantic journey, thinking about how Erasmus Mundus could facilitate what we are today. As of course, when the program started, we need to look at the law, sorry, in that case, and try to facilitate the accreditation of the joint courses. So it was something really difficult to manage as a new. Now we see that the dialogue between the university alliances and the Erasmus Mundus program is always open. Most of the participants in the alliances are or were coordinator of Erasmus Mundus projects. And at the same time, several alliances apply for Erasmus Mundus courses. And in the next future, probably the dialogue with the European degree and the Erasmus Mundus courses will increase. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to look at all this panorama and looking back and looking to the future. I think it's a great adventure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for giving us a historical background in a way, and just to emphasize the contrast of how much has changed since the foundation of Chimera. You're going to take a look into the future, the present and the future, and in your second contribution, when you talk about digitization at Chimera, how that has changed the work and will change our work as well. But, Bernhard, do I need to introduce you? I will introduce you. Bernhard Fügenschuh, of course, joins us from the University of Innsbruck, where he is a professor of structural geology and geodynamics and vice rector for students and study affairs. And he has been vice rector since 2016. Congratulations. In Aurora, he is the lead of Task Team 2.1, the hub for sustainability and climate change. But he's here today to introduce a joint MA program that, can I say, that grew out of a former pilot domain, namely digitization and global citizenship. And it has a very, very beautiful name, namely Eurydice. Bernhard.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, for the possibility to shortly, briefly introduce this new format. And just for a start, I must say, looking into the audience, I'm looking into a very, very bright future. In order to understand this, you have to move over here in the break, and then you see what I mean. That's beautiful. Yeah. So we are all facing a bright future, and I have to come back to just 2 weeks ago. Oh, what's the problem? Yes, that's better now. Yeah. Okay. 2 weeks ago, I was invited to Prague University, and there was an exchange on joint study programs. And I took the chance there to say that, and I'm pretty sure about that, it's very important to come back to the original speech of Macron and re-understand again the strengths of Europe, because in terms of diversity, inclusion, sustainability, and especially democracy, we are far ahead. And I think this has to be taken as fixed. And starting from that, we can then produce formats like this. And since you mentioned this wonderful name, yes, it's a LOVE project. And I really say it's a LOVE project. It is dedicated, of course, to digital societies, social innovation, and global citizenship. So you see that it tries to cover everything. But in fact, and I'm taking the next slide here now, if it's working, no, that's the draft version, kind of. Okay, so how can I move on? Where is this? There should be a, okay, I understand. That's jumping up. Okay, it's coming. Now, I have to move on. Yes, it's coming. So what you see here is the architecture of this program, of this master's program. And as you can see, this is quite complex. It is complex because we wanted to have it complex, because complexity like this means freedom. Freedom is a complex structure, and democracy is also complex. And we have already had some statements on how the architecture also of the European Commission and the individual states sometimes hinder us in getting ahead. But this complexity in that case, I think, helps us because it's possible to make it. If you do it simple, it's getting more and more autocratic. So what we offer here is, in fact, a very holistic approach, a very holistic understanding that we want to get in. Students, for instance, are enrolled on all the 3 awarding universities, which is an additional kind of complexity. We offer on-site as well as online blended hybrid formats in terms of teaching. students, and that's what you see on this architecture here, largely decide what to study, at which university, and even how. Specification, as you see them on the left side there, on culture, on education, on communication, is up to the students. And since this is not enough, you see on the right lower corner a so-called window of opportunity of 10 ECTS strengths. Another additional source of freedom for every student to choose in there amongst all the offers of all our university partners. And internationalization is thought as an inclusive and integrated process here. Students are active, and they need to be active themselves, and self-responsible learners. That's what we want to have. And staff, of course, on the other side of the page, they are facilitators and support the students to act as change agents and innovators, responsible in the end to society. And the further we went together during our journey in Aurora, we saw that all the staff members that got involved in these forms, like peer learning activities and so on, they get more and more enthusiastic. It's now the job to make these offers understandable for the students. And that's a big job, so to say, because I agree that, Sabine, you mentioned these wonderful numbers that we produced so far, but there's a lot more that we can do, and it has to be distributed, it has to be communicated, and of course they should understand that this kind of freedom is their freedom, and this is a high value. You see, if you offer a very simple study program, then they go through, but they don't even know why they went through there. We force them to understand it's their life and it's their future and it's our society that we build together in formats like biannual. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernhard. Maybe we can stay on that slide of the structure. Sorry. Thank you. Because Giovanni, I already invited you to talk about the joint European degree label in engineering, which has the wonderful name JEDI. Maybe you can tell us where there are points of connections, where you went in a different way and why.
Yeah, before going to JEDI, let me tell another successful European history. That is the NAE, the European Network for Accreditation of Engineering Education. Because it was founded in 2006, and after some European programs. This is an association of agencies that are located in really practically all nations in Europe that give the ARACE label, European Accreditation Label for engineering courses. So for engineering courses, there is already a very strong recognition structure, because we have in each country, for example in Italy we have the agency Quaching. If Quaching give the ARACE label to one engineering course in Italy, this ARACE label is valid in all countries, and the same for all the countries in Europe. So we start for a very, for engineering courses, we have a structure that is widely diffused. What is the step for, oh, this is a very nice,
now we watch.
I can tell you that this is also by myself, but it's not the truth. What is the step further? What does it mean, an European degrees label? The work toward an European degrees label is really, in my opinion, it requires a great job from not only universities and researchers, but by countries, because it means to recognize that one group of universities give a title that is not a title of University of Federico II together with other of your university, but is an European title. And from some point of view, it can be seen, in the opinion of many, it is the final goal of all the alliance. But really is not so, I'm not so sure that all the nations agree with this approach. Not all university agree with this approach, to in some way to lose the label linked to the single university, and we obtained a label of an European level. There is a lot of job toward this direction, and of course the work done in JERI projects was very interesting, because we set up some criteria that can be can be used and can be valid for an European degree in engineering. But I can tell you that by applying what is the results of the JEDI project, we can already, there is a lack in the, we need a lawyer, there is a lack in the lawyer structure of Europe. We do not have an European degree. And if we all work toward this direction, probably in the future we will, and I think it can be also a way to promote European education system compared with, for example, USA university education system and other. Probably if we arrive to an European degree, will be more competitive in the worldwide competition.
Thank you for pointing out again the need to advertise. I've heard that several times here now, how to make our offerings, well, known to the students, known to our audience. Well, you just mentioned, well, there is no European degree, but there is a Commission blueprint. So originally I wanted to ask Manuela first, but Antonella, your perspective on the Commission blueprint for European degree. I think that would be quite fitting right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, because in reality the blueprint of the European Commission of European degree, it was for the pilot on the European degree label a nightmare, because it actually they basically force us to provide the output of 1 year project 1 month ahead of the end of the project. So really the project was like squeezed in 11 months. So honestly, when the Commission asked us to do that, for releasing the blueprint, we were not really happy. But at the end, it works. We work a lot and we succeed in contributing to the blueprint on European degree. And what it is, it looks like the European has a dream and we have to make this dream come true. Basically, after the release, what I was asked was basically, okay, now we have the European degree, what we can do, how we can activate this European degree. Is there? The European released this blueprint, so can we activate? Well, not really. And it was not easy to explain within my alliance and within my university what this was actually, what was implying the release of this blueprint. So definitely, in my opinion, the blueprint provides nice tools to guide the member state and the higher education in going toward the possible activation of an European degree. First of all, I like the idea of establishing a European Degree Policy Lab. And this is fundamental because in the blueprint we have some vision, but then if you want to make the vision a reality, then you need to be concrete. So you need to have experts within the higher education community, in the ministry, quality agency, and you really have to, all these people work together, and putting them together in a policy lab, it could indeed work. The definition of policy lab is not yet completely clear, but we are really optimistic and we want to be optimistic. Then they propose the annual forum in order to put together in person all the experts in European degree development. And also this, I think, is great because to have the possibility to make people work on a side and then give them the opportunity to meet and discuss is fundamental. And then they ensure new Erasmus Plus funding in the direction of the design measure, so something similar to what has been done for the Erasmus Mundus, it may be done for the European degree. And this is good. We don't know exactly how much, how, when, but we are hopeful also for this topic. Overall, what I believe is really important as a take-home message from this blueprint is use it in our own nation altogether to push the ministry, the quality agency, to work in a European direction. Honestly, Ambur in Italy was really supporting of us as well as our ministry. And for what I see in EDAFISH, most part of the 19 countries ministry that we discussed with, they were positive. Of course, some countries with more constraints with respect to others. But I believe that if you take this as a take-home message, and we, as a member of pilot, try to be always present, sharing our expertise, because we did develop expertise at the European level, we actually make this dream maybe come, maybe not true tomorrow, but in the future. And the other thing that I think is really important is that the expertise that has been developed in the pilot, this needs to be taken into consideration by the European Commission. So we don't know how the policy lab will be built up, but definitely we have 6 pilots, and EDAFISH is only one of them, that work really hard on defining the criteria that are there, on understand what are the obstacles, and also identify ways to overcome the obstacle, because some legal and some local obstacles people already try to overcome. So if we can, and we collect all this information, so if we can share with the European Commission and among the different countries, then maybe we can speed up a process that I truly believe is started. And just let me conclude in making a bit of history. In my view, we had Erasmus Mobility, the classical Erasmus program. It was great. It changed the way the students were facing their education. And it changed our way to see as academic education of the student. And then we have Erasmus Mundus. Great. It creates a community. But now we have the possibility to make the step forward. And I really believe that not only associated to the alliance, but also independently from the alliance, the European degree is the step forward of all this journey. I really believe on that, and I hope that this is really the first blueprint that will allow us to move toward a European degree. And if I have still one moment, because I probably you realize that the European Commission started with the European degree label. And then in the blueprint, they talk about European degree. And they leave this possibility for all the country members to enter in the European degree world as with the label, which is not changing it does not require the change in legislation, or with the degree that needs to change the legislation. I have a feeling on that. I think that to use the European degree label to start with is great, as long as the label is provided after dissecting the obstacle and trying to find solution to change the legislation. But then we need to go toward the European degree. And if we don't, like the European Commission did not put any deadline, what will happen, in my view, is that we have some country that will stay with the European degree label, some other with the European degree, and when you try to activate a joint program with the countries that have one possibility but not the other and vice versa, I think that this will be an issue. So I hope that the policy lab that is going to be activated will actually underline this critical point.
Thank you very much. It all sounds very inspiring. And so let's see how CHIMEA could, with its expertise and its digital tools, help us make that dream a reality.
Wow. As you know, a roundtable without the word digitalization can't work, as it's the keyword, the magic, and you already heard before. So our task, as you heard before, now we started, I was too oriented on the history, but you know, today our network, the ENIC network, counts 55 countries, European Union, but not only, European region, Council of Europe, and UNESCO countries. And our credential evaluators, they are asked to assess foreign qualifications that wanted to be recognized in the Italian higher education system, mainly, for continuing their studies. And we compare, so the foreign qualification with the Italian higher education system. This is the main job of our credential evaluators. In the last years, since 2019, we, of course, wanted to facilitate our job, but at the same time, as you can imagine, several times you receive a qualification and you are not sure that it's not fake. It comes from a recognized institution. So there are a lot of checks that a credential level, apart from the value of the degree in our system, you need to assess something that is reliable in terms of authenticity. So that's why we started to work in using the blockchain technology. So we receive digitally the request, and we issue a statement of comparability. We verify the value of the degree by the blockchain, so by a trusted chain, in order to be usable only for the addressee, for the holder of the qualification, and of course we can also assess the authenticity of the degree by the same chain. And in this framework, one very interesting initiative is developed by CHIMEA in cooperation with the Council of Europe, as we participate in the European Qualifications Passport for Refugees. So in those cases in which the refugees are not able to present sufficient documentation, or in cases of missing documentation, we activate a procedure in order to assess the competencies, and so by dedicated interviews, we can provide this passport for refugees. And also in this case, thanks to the European infrastructure for blockchain initiative, we can, we are early adopters, and now our certificate, our passport, is given by blockchain. And last but not least, we are also implementing this EBSI Vector project. It's a way to facilitate the implementation of the European infrastructure for blockchain. And in this phase, we are collecting interest from higher education institutions who want to share their some user journeys to provide and to issue their user journeys by the blockchain technology. So, of course, here, most of you maybe already know what we are speaking about, but if you are interested to know more, please contact me, as of course it's an interesting upgrade in the digitalization and in the next future of joint degrees. And I cannot mention, of course, artificial intelligence. It's something new, and we are already thinking about their use, and we are already using some artificial intelligence-based tools in order to reduce the time consuming, I would like to say, as of course we can facilitate the job of our credential evaluators by using some automatic tools in the assessment of qualifications, but at the same time, of course, we need to be we need to know that, of course, the humans, we still need the humans. Yes. Exactly. So this is more or less in brief words what we are doing in the field of digitalization, but of course in our website, cimea.it, you can find everything you need could be useful for you or by me. Thank you.
Just asking for more inquiries on top of the 20,000. Bernhard, it is 10:30, a little past 10:30. We have 2 more days, almost 2 more days ahead of us. What are we going to do? What should be our aim? Not just for the 2 days, but also maybe a little more long term.
I mean, there's an agenda already communicated. I think there's a lot of things to be done. One topic not yet mentioned so far, and very, very important on this way to go, is the topic of micro-credentials. So we are very, very close to somehow ideally sign a paper all together, how we proceed with that, because, I mean, everybody now perfectly mentioned that, of course, it would be very much awaited and expected to have this European kind of degree to make things more efficient on the one hand side, but on the other hand side, I hope that the next elections will allow us to, after these elections, still discuss about these topics and not completely different ones. So I think this is the next important step to vote during the next elections. Yes, the micro-credentials, they give us something that is a big added value in the sense of mobility. Yeah? Apart from any complex constructions and curricula and so on, and universities and people and everybody involved, they allow the students to have something in hand which makes them mobile by itself, as soon as they understand it. And if we then have our curricula rethought on the basis of learning outcomes, then it's getting flexible, the whole system. And You've seen our window of opportunity there. There's no problem at all to have a technical experience and expertise getting in and being involved in there. So I think this is a really big topic. It sounds micro, but it's really big in terms of content. So I think there is one big move that we can do during this meeting here in Naples. Yes, and of course, there are some other aspects like what I already said, this learning outcome, these student-centered logics, and it sounds very much like it's only taking care about the students, but I think this new approach is also in teaching, in team teaching, and so on, you name, there's lots of different ways to teach in the 21st century. And all those researchers and lecturers who got aware of this potential, they get really in line, and then they are helped by aspects like Louis or our Aurora competence framework in total, which is a helpful add-on. It's not hindering anybody to do something, it's just reflecting on a topic like this. So I think there are lots of points already set, and the next ones will come up during these open discussions that we always have. I enjoy that very much. I remember our meeting in Innsbruck when we, this is interesting in terms of digitalization and so on, we had these numerous video calls in order to set up a paper for all of us, which should help us to go along in the near future. And everybody on a digital basis accepted this. And when we then met in person, we started with zero again. So this was fascinating to see that there is kind of a different setting if you meet each other in physical presence or just on a digital basis.
Thank you. Ja, un applausone. Yeah, micro-credentials and sustainability and climate change. The hub has, of course, moved ahead. And are you still talking, or is it pretty much?
I think we should very much use the expertise here on the floor that we have another round, if that's fine for you, or you prefer coffee. No.
Yeah. So we do have time, and I was going to invite comments.
Thank you, Florian. We have the micro here for you to take the floor if you want to pose question or if you have any issue to raise to our colleagues in the panel. Wonderful presentation.
The field of micro-credentials, we are developing very, very interesting projects. They are capacity building projects. So now when we speak about micro-credentials, of course, we have in mind the European Union Council recommendation, but at the same time, it's something that is needed at global level. So everybody in every national system is interested. And one of these projects is in Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, and another one in Georgia and Armenia. And it's really, really interesting as we are jointly implementing these micro-credentials. And we are developing very interesting things on the basis, of course, of the local labor market. So it was very interesting. Time when we're collecting questions.
Yeah. Can I comment on micro-credential as well? Because, of course, also in the EC2U Alliance, we reason on that, and in the consolidation phase, we have some of the project focus on discussing and paving the way for a future use of micro-credential, but I have a personal view on that, about everything. Micro-credential, I think, are really powerful, but we have to reason on how to use them. First of all, because the students have difficulty in really understand what they are if they are not embedded within their curriculum, because they don't want to do something more with respect their number of CTS to get the degree. So we have to reason on how to embed, I believe, the micro-credential for the student in the curricula. Another story is if we use micro-credential for lifelong learning. In this case, is a tool that provides all the worker to upgrade their ability in a specific topic, and this I think is really relevant. But then there is another issue that I want to open the discussion on, and is regarding the job market. Because you mentioned a project that about micro-credential related to job market in specific country. So I'm not sure that in all the European countries the job market is really ready or not ready, but it really knows what micro-credentials are. So and I'm telling that because I had a meeting with the students and with workers. They understand that it can be a wonderful and strong tool for them in terms of formation. But then the main concern is will this micro-credential be recognized somewhere, somehow, when I'm looking for a job? And talking with the employment representative, that's not always the case. So I think it is important in terms of micro-credential to have a joint approach. Education, fine, but also don't forget about the real world, because we need two lines to go together and not parallel. Otherwise, it will be maybe not a win-win, but a lose-lose situation. And I'm telling, I really think the micro-credentials are the future, so I'm not against it, don't get me wrong. Only I think we really need to reason properly on how to create and how to advertise. Again, make branding of micro-credential is important. We need to make aware the person that will be the one getting the micro-credential of what they can do and how they can be recognized.
Yeah, indeed. I think there's two tasks. One trying to find out how it works technically, and then finding the right topic, the right audience, the right branding, as you said. I actually have an idea that I would like to talk to you about later. For micro-credential. No, but not sure if there are. Yeah. Sabine and...
Thank you. Yes, my name is Anna Bon. I'm from the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, and I have I'm talking with the Euridische team about micro-credentials a lot. We had many discussions, and we know also from the European Union how important micro-credentials are. So everybody's talking about it, and we believe actually that it's very important for this joint degree, and also to open up education to so many universities and exchange students. But my question to you is, do you have practical examples of already working micro-credentials that have been very successful and that we can use as, let's say, as examples or as showcases? Because that is what a lot of people are asking. So we are talking theoretically about micro-credentials and maybe organizationally how to organize it. But I think to persuade the content people and also the students of the beneficials of micro-credentials, we really need good stories. And that's what I'm looking for, if you have some examples of how it really worked in practice. Thank you.
I don't have any good example because we did not activate micro-credential yet. What we did, because it was very complicated to use the micro-credential word with some of our partners. So, as you know, we need to be really careful in while respecting the legislation, and the feeling of everybody in an alliance is really important. So what we did, and I don't know if this answers your question though, is to apply what the EU Commission recommended for micro-credential to release of open badges. And we release within the alliance, I don't remember, it's 4 or 6, 4 I think, open badges related to the SDGs of our joint master degree. And we created them in a way that they can be follow independently, and they have an open badge release with these specific competencies. But we select topics that are also courses within the master. So the students accept very nicely this possibility, and we had quite a bit of students. And out of the alliance, we activate, again, following the rules of micro-credential, a series of soft skill open badges, which for some courses they are recognized within the program, so they have some ECTS that the student can use in their program, and for us some other courses no, but this was really successful because we had to close the number of students on these specific courses. So that's the experience that as EC2U and as University of Pavia we have on that. We did have a moment of advertisement with the employment representative of that, and that's when we realized, oh my God, they even know what they are. So we had like series of meetings, and I think that this is really important. But as far as the number of students, and not students, because for the soft skill, also graduated students apply and wanted to follow the course. It was quite successful.
We have a micro-credential in cooperation with the University of Naples Federico II. So, and also our credential evaluators, they receive a micro-credential, and in this case, we represent the labor market. And so the higher education institutions is the one who issue the micro-credential. We give the expertise on the Annex 1, the elements of the certificate as in the European Union mind. When we speak about micro-credentials, we have to look at the paper as the final goal is to facilitate the recognition of non-formal education. So the idea is that the assessment will be the core part of a micro-credential. It means that somebody assess the existing of some competencies, and you can obtain them by a short learning unit, but also by work-based learning experiences. Or, please.
In my opinion, there are a lot of experience. Everybody are experimental micro-credential, open badge, and so on. The thing that, in my opinion, still lack is a global vision. The possibility of use really micro-credential as the fundamental element for building more complex programs, and still this is still a little bit far because as you have told very well, they are very diffused in lifelong learning, in informal knowledge, and they represent a really good way to recognize competencies that in the past are informally recognized to people. But the strategy of use micro-credential as a way to give students the possibility of build more complex programs is still a little far, in my opinion. Needs more than the different experiments that everybody have done in the past.
I mean, yes, it is a long journey, and I think some of these problems are generations problems. It has to be established. But to my mind, what we have in hand here, and the European Commission somehow gave us, is kind of a jewel. Yeah? And you're perfectly right. Yeah? So where does the journey go to? But in fact, in this case again, somehow we would have expected that the European Commission simply says a micro-credential is 10 ECTS. That's it. micro 10. Yeah? But now we are in endless discussion. So what is the frame? This is, again, what I meant before. This is the difference between our understanding of Europe, of our society. We discuss all these things. And then we ask questions, valuable questions. So what is this all good for? It is all good for something. And we have this flavor. Yes, this is the journey where it has got to go to. And this is this flexibility of learning path. This is this individual understanding of there is a strength in itself. Yeah, it's not just greenwashing intellectual capacity. Yeah? It's really a strength in itself, and how many ECTS it is. Then you have, on the other hand side, the university with the curriculum, and they have to accept this. But this is a journey, and we are just at the beginning. And we are the people highly committed to these things and still ask these questions. So what about all the others? We have to convince them all together. Yeah, thank you.
I fully agree. It's a journey. It's a process. Just started. I also heard in some cases micro-credentials means to cut. So you said 10 ECTS. Okay, 180 ECTS can be 18 micro-credentials. So just to cut the course in several parts, but of course it doesn't work.
That's nano-credentials then. That's the next step.
Yeah.
I think we're going to continue the discussion on micro-credentials on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, this is a shameless plug, from 4 to 6, when the task team 2.1 and 2.5 especially meet up to discuss this. But we do have more questions. Sabine?
Yes, my question was related to the European degree, even though the micro-credential topic is very important. And I was wondering if you could tell us what your recommendations would be to collaborate alliances or groupments of alliances that have worked on EDAFISH or this macro projects or JEDI, and alliances like us who have not participated but have this fantastic joint degrees in the making, like Eurydice, and what could be done in terms of collaboration also with national entities like CIMEA at national level, so that we could push this agenda, like you were saying a bit earlier, in Italy, but maybe also in the Netherlands and many corners of Aurora, where also other alliances are present.
Okay. So, of course, I don't have the final answer, but I can provide my opinion and suggestion based on the experience that we had in EDAFISH and also in EC2U. I think what is really important is there are forums for the alliances, groups of representatives of different alliances, and some of these groups are focused on education and on joint. So definitely to be present there and share the problem that we had at national level. But what I really think we should do, and we also recommended the European Commission as EDAFISH to do, is to create a sort of database that should not be a database that you forget about after it has been created because it's not useful. Like we had a database of the current joint program, but nobody will actually take care about it. So, okay, it's nice, so we know we have many, but that's it. No, an active database where we can list the real obstacle at the national level and the institutional level, because what we realize that we have two different levels of obstacle. One needs the ministry to take care of, but you will be surprised how many they are local, so institutional, and these we can really solve without having the ministry to intervene. So I believe that it's fundamental to share this information in order for each of the different countries, when it comes to try to find a solution, see if somebody else already did. And when it comes to ask the legislators to change the law, then let's try to make the change in a European way, because what is actually going on, it has already happened, is that some specific country changed the legislation, for example, for joint program only associated to alliance. So, but what about the other? So it is really important that if, as EU country, we see an obstacle, we face this obstacle in a similar way, to facilitate the creation of joint program. So we have a big responsibility, but also the ministry has a big responsibility. What is fundamental is that we open a channel. We have a person to which we can, or our representative, talk with. For example, for Head of Fish, I'm talking about my personal experience in Italy. We were able to create a kind of task force or working group or working table or whatever you want to call, among different Italian universities that are at the moment involved in alliance, because that was easy for us, but it's not exclusive group, okay? It does not have to be exclusive. Otherwise, we lose university. And we opened this table together with our quality assurance agency, ANVUR, that Giovanni just mentioned, and with the ministry. So we had workshop during Head of Fish, and we are trying to keep this working group active. So we have a meeting in Padova. There was a wrap-up of the pilot, and then we already fixed a meeting in June. So, of course, you need, it is demanding, because as academic, you are the one that push for this meeting, but if you create a nice feeling among all the key players, then it is easy, and I think that the output of this national workshop, because you need a national workshop to dissect the problem, then you bring those at the international level. And this database will be the place where you put all this different information. And then at the end, of course, the ministry has to talk about itself and agree, and we don't know if this will ever happen. But I do believe that this is a momentum. I agree, we have the European election, we all know how it will go, we have no idea, but I'm also thinking that if we don't keep to be optimistic, then nothing will change.
Right, one more question? Yeah.
One more question, and it won't be long, otherwise I will shorten my speech in the next plenary session. So I'm Émilie Franquiel from Université Paris-Est Créteil, so Paris East University. Just a quick question about the, going back to the micro-credentials, but putting in the context of our mission to make university accessible to everyone, to providing inclusive education, and making sure everyone has access to the best science, best training, best skills. These micro-credentials, especially the open badge system, from what I understand, is also bringing in private interests and companies in the universities, and it forces us as universities to give them money for them to issue the open badge. And it means that the very precious money that we need to conduct these very important missions is also trickling elsewhere, because then we lose the capacity to issue these open badge, and we need private companies to issue them for us. And we're universities. So how can Aurora ensure that micro-credentials are actually issued by universities so that we keep the money for the best education, to make it inclusive, to make sure all the students have access to these wonderful opportunities. And in the same way, it makes me think also of the language certificates, right? We have the same problem there. Sometimes universities lose the capacity to issue these language certificates themselves, and then students lose a lot of money. And institutions who want to ensure their students have these language certificates lose money paying for the students to get these certificates from private companies. So what can Aurora do to solve this puzzle?
if I would have an answer, I wouldn't sit here. But I honestly think that the only thing we can do is we can say that it makes sense in such a big community to share expertise. When we start now to go back to the money, to every little cent and euro, then we are all lost. And I mean this, honestly, we're all lost then, because we will oversee that there is a high dynamics also in the studentships. They have different needs these days. They have different challenges. The job market, a labor market has already been mentioned, but hundreds of things. And we have to cope with that. And this approach, I think that we are all going together, is a very intelligent approach, because we make ourselves more dynamic, more flexible ourselves, in order to offer them more dynamic, more flexible student pathways. So I can just say, let's share expertise and let's share money, if this is an answer somehow. Thank you.
Can I comment on that very quickly? Very quickly. Well, I'm not an expert, I'm not an IT person, I'm a biochemistry. But what we face in EC2U when we decided to release Open Badge, of course the university is releasing the Open Badge, but we need a provider that ensure that the Open Badge are not corruptible. So at the beginning, we thought to develop internally IT system, and we're working for sharing well, for different things for the alliance. Then we realized that, and you have to do that. If you put money to organize a new IT system similar to the one that is already available and respect the EU criteria, then really you lose money. So it's a matter of put everything in balance. You need your micro-credential Open Badge uncorruptible. In order to do that, you need proper system. Company already have those, or you can generate. If you put the two things together, it will be cheaper to go for a provider. Then I'm not saying that maybe in the future, if all the alliance, because that's another important point, the IT is fundamental for the European degree, for everything in the alliances. And all of the alliance, I know, is working on a different kind of asset. Maybe we should really create a consortium and optimize the development of an IT system that can join in the force, and this will save money, that will work for all the purposes that are really similar at the end.
Well, we've added a new task to our list. Very good. Alessandro, I ruined your schedule. I'm so sorry. All the blame goes to me. All the thanks go to our four panelists, Antonella, Giovanni, Manuela, and Bernhard. Thank you.